Welcome to the party.
3, 2, 1, boom.
Ah!
Hey man, I haven't seen you in a while. How you been?
I've been doing all right. I've been doing good.
Good, good. You look healthy. I like the it looks like you're growing a bigger, bushier beard. Is winter
It,
coming?
it must be. My body must be noticing it because I just looked in the mirror the other day and I went, "Oh, it's getting a little thick in there,
It
little
it
bushy."
actually it looks thick, like a good thick. It's not that
Yeah,
like when I grow it, it gets real thick here, and then over here I look like Mark Wahlberg. You ever see him grow facial hair? He has like
it's not good.
patches. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not good. It's
no,
not good.
it's starting to fill in finally. I don't know.
Yeah,
I never knew.
it's
I
good.
never knew. It took me 40 years to figure out I could do this with my face, and I had no idea.
Oh,
It just I saw an interview with every time I get on here, people's names just totally leave my head. Superbad and Observe and Report and Green Hornets.
Seth Rogen. Okay.
Seth Rogen, yeah, I finally
Yeah.
do it. And he has this giant beard, and it looks awesome. And he was
Yeah.
talking with Jerry Seinfeld, and Seinfeld's like, "So why do you do the beard?" "Why do you do the beard?" He goes, "It's the ability for me to change the shape of my face." And I went, "Oh yeah." So I'm like trying to get it down to a point. I'm like pulling on it all the time, seeing if I can get it to go make me look thinner or something like that.
Have you ever thought of growing out a mustache and then twirling it like a villain
I
of the 1920s?
it's getting to the point where it's getting a little layered, and I can twirl it a little bit. It's kind of thin and sad compared to what other guys can do. And Krista hates it. She doesn't like it when I do that. Or if I take the soul patch and kind of twirl it and make it point like straight out. She's not amused. Um, it's weird. I have you seen the dude? He's a model. He's got like long gray hair and just this huge beard, and he's one of like the man's probably in his 40s. I don't think he's in his 50s, but they treat him like an older man or an older male model. You've probably seen.
No, the older male model, or he's not even a male model, he's an actor. He's the guy that was in Avatar that was the ended up being the bad guy.
Oh yeah, that guy's cool.
Yeah, I
It's not the
forgot what
guy
his
I'm
name
thinking
is.
of.
Yeah. Yeah.
This other guy does a lot of like I don't know different ads, but I swear I saw him in the airport on Sunday.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, you're looking at him like that could be you, but right now don't have my shoes on and my pants are about to fall down because it made me take my belt off. Now is not the time to be like, hey, it's that guy.
Yeah, that's
So
true. That would be awkward. That would be
yeah,
awkward.
little
So,
awkward.
by the way, we're doing Topic Thunder, and
If you haven't figured it out by now,
yeah,
we're a couple episodes in. We're probably nearing 20.
yeah.
Uh,
If you haven't figured it out now, you know what? You guys will enjoy the ride. We're going to choose a topic, talk about the topic. I don't know how long it's going to last, but we're going to give our opinions on it. Then we'll hit a fact of the week, and then you guys can go back to your fun day. Cool? You ready, G?
yeah, let's do it.
All right. Let's figure it out. Uh-oh. All right, you ready? To vaccinate or not to vaccinate?
Oh, we're getting
Yeah.
into it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
This I didn't know this was even a big deal or a big topic until I actually had a child. And it's kind of funny. My wife and I are okay. It's not that she at first was all about like no vaccinations. No. She read all of this stuff. And when you're a new parent, I don't need to tell you this, but the people out there that haven't had children yet, when you're a new parent, you just don't want to screw up. You don't want to be the reason your kid, takes the wrong step and goes down the wrong developmental path, So we were paralyzed with that. And so I had to do a bunch of research and I had to listen to doctors. And basically what I found out was that half of the stuff that she was reading came from a psychiatrist with no medical background
Yeah.
and had no doctored tests, and the only tests the only people he had in his testing were about 11 kids, and it was really shoddy jobs, and so it gets weedy. It gets
Yeah,
weird.
really does.
And you don't want to make a mistake. So I understand where parents are coming from, but it's like looking up at WebMD. You look up at WebMD, and chances are, whatever you're feeling, you're probably going to die tomorrow if you
Yeah,
believe what
yeah.
where are you with this?
I've gone back and forth because, like, when my kids were born, it was almost like the start of a lot of that kind of the anti-vax kind of movement.
Yeah.
So at first we were like, no, I didn't want to do it. One of my kids, because they do like 4 different vaccinations at a time, and one of my kids it was too much, had a really bad reaction, spiked a fever of like 106, and as a result, I mean, and that kind of fever that young, it like jacked up their teeth, like braces, and like
Yeah,
what does it?
I'm sure. Yeah. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, hold on.
You all right?
No, I lost audio there for a second.
Oh, okay.
It was very odd. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
So anyway, what I was saying is that like jacked up his teeth, like they didn't form correctly in just one of them. It's like weird, and
Wow.
and so we had to put him on like this delayed vaccination plan, and then we just kind of didn't get around to it. So you're right in that the studies that I've read, and I was a special ed teacher for 15 years. I think we've mentioned that before. So I was interested. I mean, especially when they're like vaccinations are causing autism,
Right.
and I'm like, okay, well, we haven't pinpointed what the actual cause of autism is. So but that would make sense, like the increase in cases of autism and the increase of different vaccinations. I'm like, well, there could be a correlation there. But every study I've ever read is like the one that you read, where there was no empirical evidence. The science in it was shoddy at best.
Yeah.
And you had like different celebrities coming out of the woodwork saying don't do it, and then you had other people from the scientific community or other celebrities coming out saying no, that's not the case, and it became like this big war back and forth.
Yeah.
And
go ahead.
So we did for a while. I will say that, like, we kind of delayed it,
Mm-hmm.
but then as more credible research started to come out, we kind of went back to it for some things. Like the chickenpox vaccination at the time. I grew up in the 80s. We all had chickenpox at some point.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And we lived. I mean, it wasn't a big deal. So that one, I don't quite understand why we have to vaccinate against a disease that isn't killing people in this country. No one's died of chickenpox, I don't know, for the longest time. And now that we know that the kids or even the adults that did get the chickenpox vaccination are getting shingles later on, and that's terrible. It's horrible. It's painful.
I actually got that in college.
Yeah, and so you go,
yeah.
It doesn't seem to be what I think it's supposed to be. Kids still get chickenpox, that they still live. Some of them get shingles later on in life. I think that's just the thing.
I don't recall. I remember, like you said, back in the 80s, chickenpox was like, oh, you got the chickenpox. All right, well, I can't see you for about 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
And then, but now I don't hear about anybody getting chickenpox.
Well,
I think our child just got the shot for that. But yeah, it's become a real problem, I'm kind of going off. I don't know if you saw the podcast I had with Korn, but he had this good idea of just don't fact check. Just have fun with it. Right. So I'm not fact checking this, but I believe the craze started with Jenny McCarthy.
It picked up a lot of steam.
For a kid. And they found out like that wasn't the issue. That's not what caused it. And so,
again, without fact checking, did they find out that he doesn't actually have autism?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He was misdiagnosed.
It's something else. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Again, we're not fact checking, so I don't know if it's just one of those situations where he was just a kid. He was just a kid.
Yeah,
You know?
it does kind of bother me that we're not. Like, shouldn't we at least some point?
Oh,
learn
maybe we'll piss
something?
off enough
But
people where they're gonna,
oh yeah, they might come after us for this one.
yeah, they might come after us.
I did have one experience in a doctor's office with my daughter, and it was like my wife asked me to go. She's like, the PA that's in there is really pushy on vaccinations. Like, she wants to.
They're very pushy on it.
Yep. And so she asked if I would go because they just seem to be a little less pushy with me. But like, if I shut someone down, I'm like, no. I mean, I can just take that stance and it works.
Well, no, wait, stop. It's not because it works. You happen to be about a what, 6'5", 6'4" man, about 250,
6'4" at best. Yeah.
All right,
yeah,
250, bald head. You've had a shaved head for a while. That's an intimidating look, regardless, right?
It is. Yeah.
You know, and not only that, you have a martial arts background, which I don't care what you say. There, you add a certain type of confidence to that. Like, your stature changes, right? Because you're a little more confident in yourself. You know you can handle yourself.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to get into a fight with the
no. I'm
28-year-old female
right.
PA, but yeah, you're
course.
right.
But there is this presence that develops, right? It's like a confidence.
Yeah.
And so I think people can sense, oh, I can push this person, and people can sense, oh, I can't push this person. So I think that helped you for sure.
It probably did, and it probably has in other situations too. But anyway, so we're in the doctor's office, and I knew whatever it was that they wanted to vaccinate with.
Yeah.
Once upon a time, the preservative that they used was mercury.
You're right.
And,
yes.
And mercury's poisonous. I mean, you don't want
It's
mercury
bad.
in your system.
It's bad.
Very bad. And
don't do it.
So she said, I want to put this vaccination here. I said, okay, hold on. I said, before we get into that, I said, I read that the makers of this vaccination used mercury as a preservative. And she's like, oh, yeah, we know, but they don't use that anymore. They took that out. And I went, oh, they did. She's like, yeah, they haven't used that for years. I said, great. What do they use? She goes, what? I said, well, if they took the mercury out and that was a preservative, what did they put back in to replace it as a preservative? And she goes, oh, I don't know that. I said, okay. So there, you don't know what's in it as a doctor, but you want to shoot it into my kid. I said, I said, if you can look at that, like if we can sit down, print off all of the big pharma ingredient sheet, and we can go through that, and you can tell me none of this is harmful. Well, then yeah, we can do that. And the PA at the time was like, I can't do that. I said, well, then we're going to skip it for now. It's not, and it may have been the chickenpox vaccination because my daughter was probably like first, second grade at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, until we can get to that point where you can tell me what you're going to shoot into my kid is not going to cause her any harm at all, other than you say we've injected it into hundreds of other kids and nothing happened to them. That wasn't good enough for me.
Right.
So fast forward 10, 12 years, and I'm in the doctor last year, different doctor, different woman in there. And she says we should do the HPV vaccination because your daughter's getting to that age. Now, to me, HPV is that's transmitted, that virus, that strain, whatever it is an STD. So it's one of those things where I go, well, you know what? If my daughter doesn't sleep around, this really isn't an issue. And so we're talking with the doctor. She's like, you're right. She's like, I understand where you're coming from. And she commended me on trying to teach that to my daughter. But she's like, but you don't know where the partner is coming from. Maybe they didn't have that background. Maybe they didn't have that upbringing. So we had a discussion. And then I said, so can you tell me what's in it? And she said, yes, I can. I'll be right back. And she came out with a sheet, and we sat down and we went through it.
Oh, that's great.
I didn't do the shot at the time because it was one of those shots that had to be done in a series. And I knew like we were going on vacation or something like that. I'm like, well, this window we're not going to be here for. She's like, well, then let's just wait until we can guarantee. Yeah. But yeah, that was either the medical community, either the medical community is getting better at answering my type of questions, or they're really improving the vaccinations to the point where they are harmless. So
Yeah. So I guess my question is, or I guess the question is, where do you stand on it now? Do you feel like, you know what, everybody, I know you, everybody's out there that is panicking about it and is very worried about it. What would you tell them? What would you say to those people?
A is do your research. I mean, for sure, you got to do some reading. Make sure you're getting it from credible sources.
Bingo.
Your doctor really shouldn't lie to you. And if you find out your doctor is lying to you, it's time to get a new doctor. But go to your doctor, go to your pharmacist, because the pharmacist is the one that went to school strictly for that type of biochemistry.
Oh, that's good, Greg.
And ask, ask around and say, okay, here's what the doctor wants to prescribe. What do you think about that? What's the interaction? What's the long term? And hopefully your pharmacist will know. The thing I'm kind of at now is that the anti-vaxxers that are like absolutely not on everything, they're the reason like certain diseases are having a resurgence in the country.
Well, not smallpox. What was it? Measles, right?
Yeah, measles
outbreak.
Measles. I mean, like polio still exists in a lot of the world, and that shit is scary.
Yeah,
that's like your kid wakes up one day and all of a sudden can't walk.
Yeah, look at some Google measles, and you see what you see what it can do to kids. It's very scary. It's very scary. It's scarier than a needle for sure.
And the idea that a lot of these illnesses that we've essentially gotten rid of in American society, we didn't get rid of them a long time ago. It's not like, after the Civil War, we got rid of all these things. No, this is like my grandparents that are in their late 80s, they had a real fear of these diseases.
Polio, right?
Polio. I mean, it was
Ursula's parents has as that mark.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That little scar that developed when they were getting their polio shots, that must have hurt back then.
Oh, yeah.
To leave a scar like that.
So within our lifetime, and even still, we're talking about this is an American thing. Yeah. Like in other parts of the world, they are clamoring to get these vaccinations. They would love to have these in mass. And that's why, like certain European countries, it's a law. It's like not even I don't think I really want to vaccinate my kids. They're like, well, if you want to stay out of jail, you're going to vaccinate your kids. I mean, it's that kind of thing. They don't have a choice. So it's very much an American movement right now, I believe, unless it's spread out, and I just haven't done that much research on it lately. But for sure, I mean, for something that's going to devastate a nation or take out an entire generation of kids or something like that, then yeah, I am in support of vaccinating for that. If it's something like chickenpox where you got to stay home in school for a week, okay.
Yeah,
I'll just let my kids, because I don't want to debilitate our immune system to where they can't handle an illness. Like I don't do the antibacterial soaps. I don't do things like that because you do want to build up your immune system. You do want to be a hardier way of fighting off just the everyday kind of stuff.
Right. Especially if you're a boy, you can grow a beard and wear a flannel. When you get to 40.
Yeah, you don't want to be out chopping wood someday and be like, and then you die. I mean, you don't want to do that.
Should have gotten that chickenpox vaccine.
Yeah.
I'm in agreement with you. I think I understand that there's a lot of parents out there that are scared because they get the wrong information, and it all comes down to check your sources, man. Just because it's on the internet and it says it's, it doesn't necessarily, you got to figure out where you're reading articles from. Like if you're reading from Uncle Bob's, webpage, maybe that's not a credible source.
Well, and it's not even that. You need to look at the actual data, not just the summary of the article. Go to the study, figure out who conducted the study. If the person that conducted the study is sponsored by Big Pharma, probably not a real reliable source. If the person that conducted the study is funded by Jenny McCarthy, probably not a real reliable source.
Right. Yeah.
Find someone who's got no skin in the game and actually wants to find the real answers.
Yeah, I think that's good advice for a lot of things that we're not
For
sure
anything,
about.
yeah.
You know, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we're in agreement. Not that Topic Thunder is about you and me disagreeing, but for sure it's something that at first I understood the fear that enters your head, but as
Yeah.
parents, when it comes to fearing for your child, you got to be able to take a step back, look at it thoroughly, get all the information, so you're not creating new stuff or you're not connecting the dots with your imagination, and usually your imagination is connected with paranoia because you're scared. You don't want
Right.
that. So you're absolutely right. So I think we're good there, man. I think we're
All
good
right.
with that subject. I know we could go into this a lot more, especially probably if we had Ursula down here or we had, because she has some interesting points on it. But anyway,
Why don't we do that sometime? You've got extra cameras there. We can get her on.
yeah, you're right. We absolutely should. I think it's a good idea. Maybe we'll come back and review this topic because I'm
That'd
sure
be
she
good.
has some good insight. Yeah. So, all right. At the end of every episode, we end it with a fact of the day, and I'm going to randomly pick it. And we got the Italian words widely used. My God, I can't talk.
Me too.
Widely
Widely used.
used in New Jersey differ greatly from mainstream Italian today, not because of bad copying, but because the words came from people speaking an Italian dialect that oh my God, I can't speak at all today. I can't oh my God, I can't do this. I can't say this word for some reason. I'm sorry, people. The Italian dialect died out in Italy, basically. I don't know what that means. The Italian words widely used in New Jersey differ greatly from mainstream Italian today because the bad copying, but because the words came from people speaking an Italian dialect that died out in Italy.
Okay.
Oh, I get it now. So, wait, do you get it more than I do get it?
I think I do. So Italian immigrants came over,
Right.
and started using
What they used to know
what
as
they like. I think it's getting at like capiche or capiche.
Okay.
I'm not totally sure how to say that, which is why I never do. But however you say it, like the Italians stopped speaking that way a long time ago, but it still stayed in Jersey.
Okay, all right. God, that make me feel stupider. So, guys, if you're having a bad day today, just use me as an example and realize it's just not that bad.
Well, there is editing. We could just edit that whole piece out and be like,
Nah.
yeah, it's different.
Nah.
We're human,
Right.
folks.
We're human. All right, Greg, I think we'll end it there, bud.
All right.
Wow, we're at 22 minutes. We had a lot to say today.
That was a lot. That was a good one.
All right, man. I will talk to you later. Everybody else, enjoy your Monday as soon as I can get over here. Enjoy your Monday. Take care, everybody.